Welcome to the ScaleUp Valley Podcast, where we bring the best founders and investors to help you scale a business from 1 million to 1 trillion. Today's guest is Ana Zamora, the CEO at Vitaance. Ana, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike.
My pleasure. And you have an amazing background. You've worked in a large multinational company, then you evolved into a very well-known health tech scale-up, and then you decided to start your own startup, Vitaance. So there is a great journey to be shared. So for the ones who didn't have the pleasure yet to meet you, and give us just a bit of a background on your story so far until you decided to start Vitaance.
Sure. I started my career a long time ago in investment management. So I was working for an investment management company in London, which, to be honest, is a phase of my professional life that has helped me then later understanding fundraising principles and some investment principles. So, there's always learning things is always useful for your life. You never know when you're going to use that knowledge. After that, I worked in a large multinational, Mercer, which is part of the Marsh & McLennan group of companies. I joined their investment management company. Then I moved on to consulting and also in the insurance brokerage area. So I worked in different countries, had different responsibilities, but mainly around employee benefits and innovation and digital solutions in general. So again, that allowed me to be very close to startups and disruptive business models. So it was very, very interesting. But even though I had the opportunity to work in many different things, many countries, my time there reached, I guess, a ceiling, and I needed to look for new challenges and new things. Right. So I stopped working there. The plan was to set up my own company, my own venture, but I decided to go and test the waters a little bit with working for another startup, budding ScaleUp at the time, which is Alan in France. Very interesting as well. Yeah, it's one of the best to work with a great group of people and learn some things that perhaps I didn't have in my playbook. So very interesting. I did that for about a year. And then that's when I decided to launch Vitaance.
Yeah. As we know, the audience is global and the audience is very fragmented also, because sometimes a very well-known company in Spain is not so well-known, or startup or scale-up in Spain is not so well-known in the UK, and same with France and Germany. Alan is one of the largest health tech companies in Europe, and one of the kind of the first generation was able to scale to a level that few were able to. So super well known, and I enjoy the way you decided to first test the waters at a late stage scale up before jumping directly to start your own venture. And curious as well that you also had experience on more the investment side that allowed you, and also relationships with startups and scale-ups that allowed you to be more in touch with innovation ecosystem, and maybe also to start sparking in you a certain desire and wish to start your own company and to be able to start something from scratch, right?
Certainly, when you work as a broker or consultant, it's quite a privileged position, and I think it's not by accident that a lot of consultants end up working or going to the startup world, because you can see many problems that the clients, many pains they have and problems that are there, and that the current industry is not solving or has difficulty in solving. So, I think that's probably one of the best places to learn two of the basic things you need for, innovation, which is understanding the problem or the pain that is you need to solve, and also good execution. So
Right.
I think that was certainly coming from brokerage and employee benefit consulting. It was something that really helped me to learn about the pain that the clients were having and how the insurance industry was trying to solve that pain, but they were failing. And I thought there was an opportunity there for a company like Vitaance to solve it. So
right.
Yeah.
And let's go there. So in January of 21, you took the leap of faith to start Vitaance. So and I assume before you have identified a pain point, one of those big problems where you saw a big opportunity to start your own company. What is Vitaance? What is the problem that you are solving? What are you bringing to the market since the 21?
Sure. I think, something that is part of me as well, my personality, what I'm interested in is wellness and well-being. I've even, as a hobby, I've studied nutrition and personal training and several other things. I think, living a healthy life is very important, and, living a better life. And working in the insurance industry, I could see how aligned the insurance industry is to those values. And not just because they sound pretty, right? It's like the right thing to do. It's also because it makes economical sense for them. And if you insure people, like with health and life insurance, you don't want them to get sick. You don't want them to have a claim on the insurance policy. So
Right.
I thought that, it was a very beautiful way of working on the things that I wanted to, and with, an economic incentive as well, of course.
Right.
So that was one side of it. And the other side was seeing that companies also have this genuine interest in general to provide a better lifestyle and a better quality of life for their employees. And they already have employee benefits in the form of insurance products, and they're not getting all the value they should from their current insurance product. And that's what Vitaance is there to do, is to use technology and data that comes from wearables or from the actual employee or user interaction with the app, because it's a mobile app, to enhance their life, to enhance their experience, and incentivize them to live a better life. And we do this through gamification. So we are obsessed with people using our app, making sure that it's interesting. We're not a prescriptive app, so we don't tell people what to do. Most people have a pretty good idea of what to do to live a better life. You just never find the moment, never see the incentive. So we're there to, through this gamification, help them create better habits and help them to stick to their intentions and habits. And, it helps if you get points and you pass levels, and the same way that a video game, engages you. You can do that with wellness and well-being in the context of your company. And all this data as well can help HR teams to make better decisions around employee well-being and engagement. So that's what Vitaance focuses on.
Got it. So today the product is a health and life insurance together with an app where you can have advice about how to live a better life. So tips about sports or food or something that you can do to have a better health. You can explain much better than me, but just trying to it's actually pure gamification. So it's really about challenging people or helping them to create routines in exchange for a reward. And that reward, we could talk about the product journey for a while, but all this time, nearly, commercially active, we've been for a year, but working on the product for almost 2 years. And we've tested many different things. What actually incentivizes people to live a better life? Tips,
well-being plans, nutritional plans, personal training plans. All of these, the industry has been doing for some time, but they're not followed. They have very little uptake, so very few people actually enroll. And then, once they enroll, which, is a hurdle, but then the next hurdle is actually how long they stick with them. So having seen this for years, our obsession is making sure that they engage. Engagement is our key metric, that is the North Star. So we make sure that people have reasons to come back to the app. And rewards are an important part of it. And what rewards us as human beings is certainly not money or not the amounts of money that we can provide as cash back in exchange for the premium we get paid. It's certainly not vouchers and things like that. We've tested many different things, and now with several months and over 12 months of data, we can say that actually people want to do something for the world they live in. So whether it's environmental, whether it's improving other people's lives, but there is more reward perceived and more engagement is generated when you feel like you're actually contributing to something bigger than yourself. And that's, one of the things that our product is super focused on. For example, let's say that you reduce your calorie intake or you increase your calorie burn, so your net effect is that you're reducing your calories. You can actually turn that into meals to donate to people that need it, or clean water, or improve the environment that you live in. So planting trees, reducing carbon footprint. This, we've realized that has a massive impact and is really motivating and encouraging for people to stick with their habit because they can see how it builds up. So it's about tracking data about your own well-being, but also tracking data about how much you're contributing. And that's really motivating for people.
And that's a great conclusion, because the ones who have been following the sector, InsurTech, and especially this combination of InsurTech plus HealthTech, thought that it might be a good idea to reward the ones who are taking good care of their health, to reduce the price of the price they are paying for their policies, right? Or the premium that they are paying for their policies. And what you are saying is that maybe this is not the way to go, and maybe there is also some ethical conflict here. And what we have discovered in the last 2 years with the product, and in the last year with the commercialization of the product, is that people are motivated by other factors beyond money and financial incentive, right? It's much more about leaving a legacy, contributing to a social cause, to eliminating carbon or to reduce carbon footprint, to help others that might lack a meal nowadays. So and also maybe I know that your product is mainly for B2B. Also, as part of the company, as part of a team, may be able to contribute to a certain segment of the population to get better by the donations that we give, by the actions that we make. So we are doing good for ourselves and doing good for others, right?
That's absolutely. I mean, that's a great reflection, because we do get asked this a lot, that does it lower the premium or the price that's paid for the insurance? And yes, we feel that there is a bit of an ethical issue there, because if you do that by default, it almost means that you have to increase the price of people that may not be that healthy, or have a different type of less active life, or they can look after themselves better. And I say they can't because things happen, and they may have some sort of disability or problem, illness. So that would make some people almost uninsurable because they won't be able to afford insurance. So we do think that the pricing mechanisms of insurance, people insurance, when we don't insure things, we talk about people. tend to be fair, and the regulation, and I know a lot of founders are not going to agree with me, but we think regulation actually protects consumer quite well in that regard. So 100% we think that there has to be a mechanism that evens out prices. Of course, younger people, super healthy people are going to have a better price than other people. But if you push it too far, you can be pricing people out of the market. Right. And we don't think that should happen. So that's in relation to pricing and what rewards and incentivizes people to look after themselves. But also there is an additional element, which is also something that makes us unique for B2B distribution, because it adds a lot of value to the company. Mm-hmm. And we realized that these are social features of our product, meaning that people actually like to do things together. So the same way that you're twice as likely to go to the gym if you go with a friend than if you go by yourself. Right. The same thing applies to sticking to other habits, eating better, being more active, meditation. You hold each other accountable. You work with others towards a common goal, reducing your carbon footprint or whatever it might be. And that's very valuable within organizations, because people pull together for something related to work, but that is not work. And what can be definitely related to is company values, ESG goals, and different things. Right. So for us, it's a way to circle up, and go 360 right. on the important things for the organization. And we think that's, like a huge part of our success with companies and selling employee benefits. It goes beyond the protection of insurance products, which is fantastic. But it helps them to look after their employees and look after, the society we live in. So it's quite a comprehensive way of tackling employee benefits.
Right. So in terms of the ICP, it is really kind of, or the go-to-market is a B2B2C. So you sell the product to companies, and then of course you need to onboard the employees of those companies. And again, you need to ensure that they are engaged with the product to be able to retain the customer, and also, of course, to deliver the benefits and to fulfill the purpose of your company, Vitaance.
Correct, because you may be tempted to think, okay, which is what happens with the industry, by the way. You get paid because this is a social benefit. It's paid by the company, so you've got paid. That's the end of your job, right? Well, that's what we don't think should be the case. Right. That's why we're obsessed with engagement. It's like, okay, we got paid, but of course I want to get paid next year and the year after that, the year after that. And that's our big differentiator, that we make sure that we're used. When we talk about life insurance, especially, which is our core product, we always say that we are the first life insurance that you want to use. You don't want to use other life insurance because, it doesn't mean great things.
Right.
But this is actually to live better. And that's our focus. And there is a point that sometimes, we depend on internal communications policies and so on. But word of mouth tends to be the best thing for us. So, a few employees start using us, and that they find it so engaging that they invite the rest of their colleagues, and we end up with, in the high 90s of employees, active employees and onboarded employees, which is a pretty good result. I've done employee benefits for several years, as I say, in 4 or 5 different countries, and anything over 20% is skyrocket, sky high, and very very high figures. So we're very happy that we can get almost all employees, in some cases all employees, on board on our app and are active on the app. So very happy with that.
And just to clarify, Anna, is it life insurance or also life plus health insurance, or
We can do both.
Okay.
We tend to do more life insurance, accident insurance as well, and also health insurance. But this is more recent. So we have very few health insurance clients.
Right.
But yeah, we also do.
So the first one was life insurance, and now you are thinking about starting to expand to the same customer base to be able to cover other components of insurance.
Correct. That's
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. And yeah, we were talking about the go-to-market, and I think again you started in January of 21, and you went to the market in maybe beginning of 22, 1 year ago, right? So first year it was mainly, I assume, to develop the first version of the product, licenses, and all that bureaucracy that also comes with insurtech, right? It's a lot of founders in insurtech talk about that. There is a lot of work to do in order to be able to be able to operate, not only having the product. Am I right to affirm that?
Correct. And there is also an added thing, is that we decided from the very beginning that we were a B2B company. So employee benefits tend to get renewed 1st of January. So meaning that during the year, there's almost nothing you can do. Insurance policies need to be canceled at least 1 month in advance. So meaning that what you haven't sold by the end of November, you can have almost like another year to wait. So 2021 was impossible for us to make it there on time. And 2022, that meant that we had to sold everything before. So we started to build pipeline
in 22.
Yes. So most of our clients have come in now in January 2023. Exactly. This year. So yeah, the timings are challenging. But it's an interesting product because also you grow with your clients, as they hire more people as well. Yeah. And we sell insurance, meaning that we sell trust, which is something quite difficult to sell. So when you get your first few clients and you do a good job, they bring other clients with them. And referrals are a great way as well for growth. Even if they're not direct referrals, the fact that people are trusting you, encourages others to trust you as well. So it's very much a snowball business. But yeah.
But I assume that during 22, kind of the customer discovery and all the hypotheses that you thought when you created the company and you start developing the first version of the product, then you started seeing what has been the market reception, and you needed to start adjusting or doing kind of a discovery about what is your ideal customer profile. What has been some of those lessons during 2022? Because then again, to repeat what you said, you were able to close the first customers or first companies end of 22 that started their insurance packages in the first day of 23, and now you are developing the pipeline that you will convert at the end of 23 to start as customers in the 1st of January of 24. So what has been some of those lessons discovering what is our ideal customer profile, which is not an easy job, right? At all.
It's not, definitely not, especially because we feel that the market, the rules of the game, if you want, have changed so much. If you think about the market at the end of 2021, companies were experiencing a very different macroeconomic context. And exactly. Then 2022 Q1 was completely different from the rest of the year. In Q2, things started to change dramatically, and probably even now, inflation is probably top of mind now when, things literally every 6 months have changed completely. And the type of customer that was ideal for us has suffered a lot. And we had to find another niche another pond to fish. Those ponds change again. So, we've had to be super agile. We've gone from white collar companies to blue collar companies. Now we're going back to white collar again. Different industries, different type of profiles, tech, non-tech, pharma, many different things. So it's been challenging. I think the key for this was to be super agile, trust our instinct quite a bit, listen to customers a lot. But luckily, in terms of product, people are people, right? And what motivates people tends to be the same things, across industries. So it's true that to approach clients, we had to learn about the context, the macroeconomic context. But then when it comes to the actual use of the product, we've been able to make quite a bit of progress and understand people's motivations. And, it's behavioral science, literally. And that obviously, the context has an impact, but it doesn't change the fundamentals that much.
Yeah. That's what we always heard from second, third time founders, is that of course product is important, but product without distribution and without the go-to-market right, it will not work. But it seems that the fundamentals of your product needed to be there independently of what is the ideal customer profile. And maybe you are also in a movement typical to a company that is focused on B2B, which is starting kind of going upstream, not starting with enterprise. Maybe in your case, you are now also not starting with small businesses, given the nature of your business, but being maybe in the middle, in the mid-market segment, but still maybe later it would make a lot of sense to move upstream to enterprise, but the timing is not right yet. So still first building a reputation and building a strong customer base around mid-market before going to the enterprise layer, maybe a little bit later in the growth of the company.
That's absolutely, and it has been very challenging because we've had enterprise clients approaching us, and you have to know when it's too early for that and when you're not ready. And it represents a big defocus for a small team like ours. So sadly, we've had to say no to some things, but thinking back now, it was the right thing to do. When you're not ready, you're not ready, and it's better to wait, because you could end up building the product that others want.
Exactly.
The product that solves the problem you're trying to solve. And we've been tempted, and perhaps we've done a bit of that, but we came to our senses and we're focusing on the right things.
You just described a very common thing, right? So your product roadmap becomes the product roadmap of your largest clients, which are the ones that you are the most dependent on, given the MRR or ARR or revenues that are paying to be with you. And then it's quite difficult to have your own product vision, and you can become a kind of a software house for those customers, and maybe the product that you are developing will not fit for other customers, and then the growth will be very complicated, and you will also have a Frankenstein product at the same time, and it will be difficult to get out of that, right?
Yeah, because some clients think they know what they need, but that's not always the case. If you ask employees what they value the most, you could end up with a list of things that you may prioritize and implement, and then you look back in 6 months' time. You don't have to wait that long to realize that none of those things were used. And HR teams go back and say, "Well, I don't get it. They asked me for this. Why is it not used now?" Right. And that is because you may think you want to go to the gym, and that a gym benefit would be fantastic, but that is your wishful thinking, hoping that you will definitely go. But then you look back and you realize that only a handful of people, the same handful of people that were going to the gym regularly, before the benefit are going to the gym now, or mental health benefits. There is an issue, but you forget that they're there when you need them. There's always friction when using these things. So that's why we are all about prevention, gamification, making sure it's engaging, so employees have our solution top of mind when the time comes for any of these well-being needs. So once you're in that path, it's easier to access different things. And that's really the kind of product we're building, a product that helps prevent, but at the same time is top of mind for employees when they have a need relating to wellness and well-being.
Right. So in terms of the stage of growth, and you are now at seed stage, so start in the beginning of 21, just for people to follow a bit, can you just give us an overview about, so the first fundraising milestone has been achieved when? The pre-seed round or angel round?
We did a pre-seed round. It was at the end Q4 2021.
Got it.
So yeah, it was, as I said, different context altogether, especially for fundraising, especially in fintech or
euphoria in the VC, and especially for insurtech and health tech. Everyone was super excited about that sector, especially after the pandemic, or still during the pandemic, right? At that time.
Exactly, it was still during the pandemic. So yeah, it was a very different context. We went very fast on the regulatory aspects, product, insurance, all the insurance part went very, very fast. So we had some important milestones to raise money based on. So, we did the first bit of fundraising, and then, we started to assemble the team. Competing with talent for talent was really difficult. It was a very competitive market. I think we were all forced to pay probably over, the real cost of some things. So it's very competitive. We didn't go as fast as we were hoping on that. Things changed dramatically. Our clients got affected in different ways. Everything stopped for a bit. Companies were waiting to see, the way things would develop. So that had a bit of an impact, not huge because we were very early, so it wasn't huge. And then, as I said, we were very agile. We kind of reacted very quickly and refocused all our efforts within a couple of months. And we were able to start kind of really closing our first few clients and proving that there is a market for what we do and that we solve a pain. And we did another fundraising round at the end of 2022. So Q4, exactly 12 months later, we did another funding round, just a few months ago.
And in 21, you kind of bootstrapped until the end of the year before you raised the pre-seed round. So with your own resources, already with engineers in the team, or not yet developing the MVP?
Yeah, we did the MVP with a software factory. So it was fully outsourced and it was just an MVP. We didn't have any in-house engineers.
Okay, but it wasn't with your own resources or with angel funds or?
Yeah, we did a very small kind of foundational round, and the founders invested a good bit of our own money for sure. Compared to other companies, a considerable amount of our own resources. So yeah, we did that.
And then you had the pre-seed round end of 21, which was a very large one, right? So 3 million plus, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it was nearly 3 million exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Pretty large.
And then end of 22, you did a seed round, again, a more adjusted given the market and maybe your cash needs for the next stage. It was around 1.2 or something around that.
2.2.
2.2.
Yeah, I mean, we still had quite a bit of cash in the bank. So, we debated a lot whether to fundraise or not, but We had a great partner, great leading VC, which is K Fund, and the term sheet was super reasonable and very good valuation. So very little dilution for the founders, and it would provide us, even though we had still almost like a year worth of cash left in the bank. It was nice to raise again. So it would eliminate some pressure, and it would mean that, of course, you always have to be careful with your runway and what you spend your money on. But it allows us to hire a couple more people, nothing huge, but just make sure that we are ready. Like we hired a head of product and 1 people in sales. That's what we've done, nothing else. And we think we're in a much better position to really hit our milestones and our targets. Obviously, with more money in the bank, at least there's less pressure. But less pressure on time. So, but it's still obviously the same one on results. We're very happy that we did it.
And what has been the size when you raised in December of 22, the size of the team, and at that time? Or today? It's March. It's almost. But I know that you have hired another 2 or 3 people, right?
No, there is 19 of us, so it's still small. So there were 17 now.
So 17 or 16. Okay, exactly. Got it. Almost the same size. But then in end of 21, that's when you were kind of just the founders and the software house that you hired to build the first version of the product, right? And after that, you internalized the product development. This is good for other founders that are considering, should we be ourselves? I assume there is a lot of these questions, and maybe here we bridged the founding team. So how did you build your own founding team? Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most challenging things. Finding people that are complementary to your own skills. I think that's probably the key. And how you meet these people is difficult as well. I know so many founders that have decided to co-found with friends, even childhood friends, and of course you only hear about the stories that work out well. you never hear like
exactly
and the epic fails. But it's difficult. So we had this area of engineering that we didn't have a founder CTO, and that was a problem for some investors, actually. But we prefer to do it that way because the person that you co-found with has to be the right person. You spend more time with them than your life partner, so it's important that things work out in that way. So we decided to outsource some of this. I don't know if that's the best thing at all. If I could go back, there's definitely some things that we couldn't do within the founding team, so they had to be outsourced.
Right.
So perhaps I would have brought in, some of these things earlier. The context was very challenging. As I say, finding the right person took us about a year to find the right head of tech for us. So you just never know. So you can make a wish list and the perfect planning for your company, but then reality, I think, brings a different layer to the whole process.
So we know your background, so you have been working in the category for a very long time, so you understand very well go-to-market. And your co-founder comes more from a ops background, so he is the COO. You can share his name, of course, in the show as well.
Sure. Yeah, so Christian Rochas is his name. And yes, his background, he did a bit of actuarial work as well at the very beginning of his career.
Yeah.
And he's French Colombian, so he started to work in France, and then actually started to work in consulting, management consulting, he moved to Colombia, was there for 10 years, and he founded his first venture as well on well-being and corporate well-being.
Awesome.
So we had these two complementary backgrounds, mine on insurance and employee benefits, his on well-being and consulting as well, which, as I say, it's always execution is always key, I think, when it comes to startups, and he brings that in. And I actually met him, well, he was living in Colombia, I was living at the time between Paris and Madrid, and we met, and we were introduced online, and we were speaking for months.
Amazing.
Until we decided to actually meet physically. He was coming to Europe for Christmas. So we met, and that's when we made the decision, yes, we could do something together.
Cool.
But it was very, very interesting that, bringing those two worlds together. He used to tell me when we were speaking online that out of every, 7 meetings out of every 10 meetings he was having had to do with insurance. So he knew that was the future of corporate well-being, and having to do with insurance, because he said something that really struck a chord with me, which is like interests are very aligned. And if you remember, that's the way I started the podcast. So like, oh yeah, I think I can do something with him. and So we decided to just go for it, and he moved to Barcelona, and we did it.
Amazing. Yeah, because that process of building the founding team is quite complex, to find the right match, to align the timing, to align the purpose, to get that complementarity, and then trying to force finding a co-founder CTO. It's really, really painful. So in theory, it's perfect. Yes, you need to have kind of a business background founder and the technical founder in the team, and even if you want to have someone from product or someone that adds another layer, for instance, this well-being layer, whatever are the skills that are missing in the founding team, it's easy to do in theory, but then finding out the right person, having a chemistry with that person, believing that we can work together for the next 5-10 years, that's another story. And at the end of the day, you guys were not able to find that CTO that you would need, and you decided to go with a software house and then hire the head of engineering. When did you hire the head of engineering, and in the journey?
I think it's important to say that we kind of had a bridge in between these two worlds, where there was only kind of non-technical founders and finding a head of tech. We joined Antai, which is a venture builder, that a lot of people ask us why we went there, and it's because they had a resident CTO that was at our disposal. So for us, it was very important that we had someone invested in the company that would provide that value to us. And he overviewed, like the software factory, making sure that the things that we were doing were not major disasters. So for us, it was the right thing to do at the time, and it was, of course, having an insurance background and being an actuary by training, you always look to mitigate the risks you can. So that's what we did. But then it took us a year. But again, this interim CTO helped us to interview people, and would do all the technical interviews for us, because we didn't have the right enough criteria to make a decision on the technical.
This helps a lot. Yeah.
So yeah.
And maybe even to find the software else. So it was because it's very difficult for a non-technical founder to understand if that software else will deliver or not, if understands kind of the lean methodology, and if we need to change something because we figure out that this is not direction, what will be the flexibility of a software else, and that's why typically then you need to internalize the process of keeping to deliver the next versions of the product, right?
That's correct.
But then you decided, so you had this interim CTO during 21, and then at the end of 21, when you raised the $3 million pre-seed rounds, then that's when you hired the full-time head of engineering with the support of this interim CTO from Antai, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So our current head of engineering joined us exactly a year ago now. So it was March 2022. So the entire CTO was with us for about 9 to 10 months. So
right.
Yeah.
Then the process of raising the money and doing the interviews and going through the recruitment process, right? It's another at least 3 months to be able to hire that head of engineering. It's nice to see different ways, because sometimes we have these dogmas that we need to have the non-technical or the business background and the technical background. And I think that sometimes even some founders decide this is not the timing to go, and they are so passionate about the problem and so passionate about the category, and they have so much capacity, but they don't find out the right founding team, and they just give up. And it's nice to listen to your story, because it's possible. As you said, it might not be the ideal way, but anyway, if it was not this way, it would not be here, right? So it was the options that you have at the time, and you made the best possible with the resources and the options that you had. And unfortunately, you also didn't risk having the pressure of inviting a co-founder CTO that then might not be a cultural fit for you and might not be the right person, and then it would be much more difficult to sort it out, right? Because then you can, it's very difficult to fire a co-founder.
It's certainly challenging, yes, and emotionally it takes a bigger toll, let's say, than other stuff. So yeah, for us was the best option we had on the table, and that's what we did.
Amazing. So amazing story. We kind of covered a bit your background, the problem and the solution that you detected working on your previous roles, a bit about the products, finding the ICP, the go-to-market motion, a bit of fundraising, building the founding team, also the engagement model that is not only financially oriented as a lot of insurtech, health tech companies are following nowadays, and why. Also how it helps to position a bit better the employee experience, and even the companies on contributing to the ESG and carbon footprint, and also the social causes that enterprise nowadays also need to take an eye out. So if you agree with me, let's go to the last segment of the show. What do you think?
I think it's the right time.
So and let's go. If you would have the opportunity, Ana, to have a coffee with yourself at the beginning of 21, what advice would you offer to your younger self?
I think be lean and be fast. I think we've all heard these things, but you don't really know how true they are and how important they are until you're there yourself. You know, unless there are things that definitely you cannot do, like in my case, code. Those are things that you should try to do yourself at the beginning, and learn as much as you can from them. And as soon as you feel you have enough knowledge, then you can go and look for people to help you do them. But it's good to experience them. So yeah, that's what I would say.
And what are you the most proud of on your journey so far?
I think probably, you know, is the way we're making decisions. You know, we're pretty fast, even difficult and painful decisions. We're able to tackle them, and you know, we're being brave in that regard. And also, you know, something personally that I realized, that I didn't realize I had such a strong network, and that, you know, what you do in the past, you know, and the way you treat other people comes back to you in a very positive way. You know, building credibility and trust over the years kind of really helps when it comes to it. So I'm pretty proud of that.
And worst advice ever received?
I've received plenty of bad advice over the years, but I'd say
filtered it out.
Yeah, probably is you know, be rational. And I think rationalizing things is important, but sometimes instinct and intuition are very important as well, especially when it comes to people. So I think rationalize everything was probably the worst advice I've ever been given. I wish I hadn't listened that much to it.
Love it. That's a good one. We could almost do just a podcast about that one, right? And now the resources. Your favorite book, business or non-business, you decide. This is much more to get to know more about you.
I read a lot, so it's difficult to pick just one. But when you say this, there's one that really comes to me, that is Amp It Up by Frank Slootman. He was the CEO of Snowflake. Okay, and actually, cool. I'm thinking I will reread it now. It just, I think, he talks a lot about urgency and ambition and speed. And I think it's a pretty good book for any executive, whether it's startup or non-startup.
We'll take a look at it. Thanks for the addition to the list. It's a new one. Favorite movie or series?
I don't watch that many movies or series as I read books, for sure. But I don't know. I think I don't watch any TV. I just kind of saw again Hidden Figures, about 3 Black female mathematicians working at NASA. And
I love that one.
Historic biopics, that's my thing. I like history. I love history. That's I read the most about history, by the way, not business, not technology. Exactly. Mainly history related.
Good choice. And finally, your favorite podcast, excluding this one.
Well, I guess I have to say Work-Life Romance, which is a podcast we do for the HR community cool. At Vitaance. But I also listen a lot to Kaizen by Jaime Rodriguez de Santiago. He's a Spanish guy that I really like the way he thinks and his models. He tries to help people understanding the world a little bit better, and it's probably one of the very few that I listen to on a frequent basis, so very good one.
And congrats for these 2 years so far, right? It's 2 years and 3 months, and you are always invited to come back to share the next chapters. Sorry, I'm saving words. And it has been a pleasure to have you on the show, and congrats again for the amazing journey so far.
Thank you very much. The pleasure has been mine as well. Really enjoyed it.
And to our community, thanks for being there. As you see, we keep bringing you the best founders and investors to help you scale your business. See you soon and keep scaling.